Welcome to the Cambridge Tech Podcast, talking all things technology from the heart of the UK's tech capital. Here are your hosts, Faye Holland and James Parton.
I'm Faye.
And I'm James. So, what have you been up to this week, Faye?
Do you want
I'm starting to dread this question now.
Do you want to explain why you're quite so hysterical this week?
Yes, we've been laughing off microphone because these segments are starting to get quite long because Faye works too hard.
Is that I just have really busy weeks, but I have to say last week was obscenely busy, even for me. So to start it, just to give you a little bit of a flavour, not including what I'm actually going to tell you about the updates, I had 17 meetings, 5 podcast recordings, and 2 mentoring sessions with the current Impulse cohort. So that's quite a busy week already, right?
It is, yeah. Like you said, I say this every week, but you make me look really, really bad.
No. So shall I tell you the other things then? So last week was Cambridge Wide Open Week, which we've obviously covered on the podcast with Prashant. What an amazing week. I mean, honestly, what Prashant and Sunil Shah do with the rest of the O2H team, including the wonderful Ajit, is just amazing. And even more so, they bring everyone with them. It's just like such a lovely activity to get involved in. So with them, I went to 2 breakfasts and 1 party, and then I just followed everything else on LinkedIn because I couldn't possibly manage to do absolutely everything. So one of the breakfasts was with Herman Hauser and Sean Grady from AstraZeneca. And by the way, I did go and grab Herman and ask him how he was getting on with his book. And he said he was 8 out of 12 chapters done. So I'm like, brilliant, you're coming back on.
Book him in.
So, yep, that was done. Big tick. The second breakfast was with Andy Neely and Peter Freeman. And I think, terrified Peter Freeman because I'm like, you're going to speak to Andy, you're going to come on the podcast, right? And he's like, what now? To which I was like, no, we'll plan a different day. So those 2 breakfasts were really good and interesting. And if anyone wants to know more, there's loads of stuff about what we talked about on the LinkedIn feeds. And then there was the summer party where we all were, what they call dealy boppers. You know those?
Oh, the bumblebee thing.
Yeah, the bumblebees. And there's only ever a few queen bees. So I was rummaging in the bottom of the box and opening a new bag just so that I got a queen bee bag, as you would imagine. But it was so busy. I literally walked maybe 20 steps in an hour and a half because there was just so many people to talk to there. So that was brilliant. Right, so that's one. Shall I pause? Any questions?
And there was a really good event here as well with the science park kind of opening up. So heard from Jane talking about the science park and the history and everything. Actually, what was really nice in the audience is we had a bunch of local residents as well. So that kind of engagement really was happening. You know, it's not just a press release, it's real. Yeah, it's really, really good.
And that happened. There were 20 science parks in Cambridge that opened their doors on Wednesday. Yeah. So it was, an incredible, incredible event.
Yeah.
So then on the Monday evening, in the midst of all of that, was the Form the Future's 10th anniversary party. So huge shout out to them. And I know Anne's going to be part of the episode as well.
That later.
Yeah, 200,000 young people they've helped. Mm-hmm. And if you think about our future pipeline of employment, that's just massive. So huge congrats to them. I was an after dinner speaker, I'll have you know, on the Tuesday evening with Holly Church from Illumina. That was really interesting. We talked about careers with purpose. I had a heckler in the audience.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. I won't tell you who it was. The people in the room will know.
You destroyed them, didn't you?
It was really funny, right? So it was the event was organised by George Neville Jones, and who's absolutely lovely. And it was Chatham House rules, and so I'm hopefully not giving anything away. So there were 2 of them that when something was said, 2 of them I could see started to bristle like we're going to have to step in. And I looked at them basically going, yeah, you don't need to step in, I have this. So I did, I sorted that one out. So anyway, it was absolutely brilliant. And I think we talked for like an hour longer than we were supposed to.
Your intros are what you do each week, yeah?
That's so rude. Sorry, everyone, for that cackle there. He's been so offensive to me today. So we've got to Thursday now. Thursday was CAMS B2B North. So that was with the Chamber of Commerce. It was absolutely brilliant. Again, I stayed for an hour longer than I should have done. They were talking about tech talent and trade and US trade and all of those kinds of things. So that was super interesting. And the most brilliant thing about all those events last week was every event was a different group of people. So I kind of felt like I'd caught up with so many people in a matter of a few days. So that was basically my week. It was a pretty good one, right?
Yeah. So, well, that's the end of the episode now, isn't it? We've run out of time, everyone. Sorry. No, that is impressive. Maybe we should start a second feed. So, like,
just on my news.
Yeah.
Well, if it's any consolation, I'm now off on holiday for 2 weeks.
Okay, so I might be able to outdo you. I might be able to outdo you.
Okay.
Good, as in I might be busy. Probably not. You'll probably still be working when you're away, knowing you.
Okay, right. I would like to find out what you did last week now, and I'm going to listen with a lot of interest.
It won't take long. So, Cyber East came here, and so a really good meetup. All things cybersecurity, just building on that visit that we had the week before from the US cyber startups organised by Cambridge Wireless. That was great. We got some really great technical groups coming here now, so keep an eye on our event listings if you're interested in that kind of thing. On the subject of events, HackEd registration for the final pitches is now open, so you can get your ticket for that while you can, because it's going to go quickly, I think. So head over to the Bradfield and you'll find the link, bradfieldcentre.com, and you'll find the link to the Eventbrite. You'll hear all about HackEd in this episode as well, so stay tuned for that. I learned about the sustainability plans for the Science Park. So Jane Hutchins and the Bidwell's team ran an event talking to all of the Science Park tenants about how things are changing, about sustainability, signage, the whole works. That was really interesting. Lots of interesting stuff going on there. We should get Jane on, actually, to talk about that. Excited to start working with a new local charity, Cambridge Online. They're really interesting. So they refurbish technology to get families and individuals online and using digital services like online banking. They do training, all that kind of stuff. So we're helping them as much as we can. On a similar vein, but looking at how we can help reach younger people with technology and STEM, we're looking at restarting the Raspberry Pi Foundation Code Club here as well. We had one pre-pandemic, and we're now in a discussion to try and bring one back. So
that's a great idea. Yeah. Brilliant. So good update. So you also caught up with Caroline Hyde talking about the postdoc competition.
So Caroline, thanks for joining us. You've got some exciting news to share, I believe.
I have. Thanks for having me back. Yes, so we have just relaunched the Postdoc Venture Creation Challenge. And some of your listeners might remember this as the Chris Abel Postdoc Business Plan. It was a kind of stable from the University of Cambridge in terms of supporting postdocs with new spin-out ideas. It had a bit of a lull, and we've relaunched it this year.
Awesome. So who's eligible to apply, and what kind of things are you looking for?
The programme itself is run in collaboration with the Postdoc Academy and the Postdoc Society of Cambridge, as well as partners including Cambridge Enterprise, founders at the University of Cambridge, and the Cambridge Innovation Capital. And essentially what we're looking for is anybody across any of the schools within the university who have an idea, an initial venture idea. It doesn't have to be fully formed. The whole point of this is that we help take you through that venture creation initiative. And we're running 2 tracks this year. So we have a sort of generic business track, and then we also have a social innovation track, which is more targeted towards those social ventures.
Okay, that sounds a good addition. So what kind of prizes and supports on offer?
So what we've tried to do this year is really build upon what we've done previously. We have the Chris Abel Prize, which is the first prize in each track. And the winners of that will get a 20,000 investment from Cambridge Enterprise. We also have a second prize of a 10,000 investment from Cambridge Innovation Capital for the business track. But what we've been really busy doing is pulling together a huge support package of professional business support from a lot of great names in and around the Cambridge ecosystem. So Business Weekly have given us a sort of whole annual package of PR and media support. We've had places like the Bradfield Centre and Idea Space offering membership for the winners. We have access to media suites for help in developing videos or podcasts, and then a whole range of other activity, including marketing from Cofinitiv and also sort of business advice services from legal and tax and accountancy firms.
Sounds great. So if I'm listening and I want to find out more, where do I go?
If you make your way to our website, which is ie.cam.ac.uk, and then /PVCC, all the details of the competition are on there. We're running 4 online workshops and they are culminating next week. So we've got the final next week on business plan design. And then the deadline for applications will be the 6th of July. So we will be shortlisting, and then 12 companies at least will be invited back for a summer boot camp running over August and September to help them really start to define, validate their ideas, and build up their business plan ready for the final deadline in September.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to getting you back on with some of the winners. I think that's in November, right? So we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, this competition, I can't understate really how important this has been for our deal flow. Some phenomenal companies have come through this, including New Quantum, Sumerian, 52 North Health, Cambridge GAN Devices, Versed AI, AotoSense. So, we know that this is a really pivotal kind of stepping stone for companies that are spinning out of the university. So excited to come back and tell you about who we've got in the finals.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Brilliant. So let's go through today's news.
Okay, so we start with news from New Quantum, who we've covered a couple of times. They've unveiled a new milestone in scaling distributed quantum infrastructure and progressing towards commercialization. It's launched what it's calling the first industrialized 19-inch rack-mounted solution that combines a dynamic entangler system and a real-time quantum network orchestrator, adding to the modular and flexible platform that can be adapted to different qubit modalities and quantum use cases. New Quantum says the breakthrough will enable real-time entanglement distribution across quantum data centers.
Keeping on quantum news, we've got 2 pieces coming out of Oxford. First of all, Oxford Instruments, a leading provider of high-tech products and services to industry and scientific research communities, has agreed to sell its quantum-focused business, Oxford Instruments Nanoscience, to Quantum Design in California for £60 million cash. Second, Maryland IonQ agreed a $1.05 billion takeover of Oxford Ionics and promised significant expansion. So this trend we keep seeing, James, for the US buying out our UK tech firms seems to be continuing at pace.
Yeah, and also another signal that actually commercialization of quantum is getting closer, right?
Mm-hmm.
IonQ is a leader in quantum computing and networking, developing high-performance systems based on trapped ion technology to help solve the world's most complex commercial and research challenges. Oxford Ionics is stated to hold the current world record for fidelity, which measures the accuracy of quantum operations.
Next up, we have 3 leading Cambridge-founded technology companies, Flock Health, Darktrace and Poly AI, who have been chosen as inaugural partners in a major new government initiative to fund and fast-track the next generation of artificial intelligence talent. Flock Health, Darktrace and Poly AI will shape the programme through hands-on industry placements, mentoring and support, giving young people a direct route into skilled jobs in the UK's tech sector.
And finally, the Spark AI scholarships were unveiled by the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology at last week's London Tech Week. They will provide full master's degree funding at top UK universities, including Cambridge, for at least 100 exceptional students.
And that's the news. So thank you, James, in advance for holding the fort whilst I'm away. And now we're going to go to this week's episode where, James, you have caught up with Anne Bailey and James Adams to talk about tech futures at Cambridge Tech Week. So I'm looking forward to hearing more.
And so welcome back onto the podcast. Can you believe it was way back in December 2023 when you last appeared, when we came along to your Form the Future annual conference?
I can't believe it. Time goes so fast. And that actually was a brilliant episode. We really enjoyed having you at that conference. It was a fun conference and it generated a lot of interest in our work.
Nice, good. I'm glad. Well, for those people that weren't listening to the podcast way back then, why don't we start with a kind of quick introduction to both you and Form the Future?
Yeah, sure. So Form the Future is a careers and employment company, and our mission is to help young people prepare for their careers and to help local employers connect with future talent. So we've been doing this for almost 10 years. We are actually, by the time this goes out, I think we will have celebrated our 10-year anniversary, which is really exciting. And I'll come on to a little bit of why that matters to us right now, is that sort of point about 10 years. But essentially, it's all about addressing the challenges, which are employers complaining they can't find the talent, that young people aren't work ready. But at the same time, young people in this country have to make choices about further or higher education very early on, and often without any support or really experience to make decisions that are going to be right for them. So we're trying to be that bridge in the middle to be a platform that connects those two worlds, the employers who have needs for skilled talent and young people who we want to see access those opportunities. We want them to see those hidden jobs. And in a growth sector like Cambridge and our surrounding region, there's so much happening in the world of work that just isn't visible to you if your parents don't work in that field. Or if you come, if you're a girl thinking about computer science, or a young person from a less advantaged background, you might not believe that you would be welcome in some of these emerging careers. So that's our mission, is really how do we connect young people with businesses to help them discover what it is they could do in the future. And we do most of our work through schools. And so when we do that, we're also helping the schools to have an effective careers education program.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, as you know, both Faye and I are huge fans of the work you do. So in the 18 months since the last appearance, I know it's been kind of a whirlwind. Could you share maybe some highlights of the impact that you're having?
Yeah, sure. So numbers have really been picking up in terms of activity. We're on course to have seen in this academic year, I think it's over 36,000 young people. And just to give you an idea, in the month of March alone, we saw something like 6,932. I mean, it's staggering. That was a pretty wild month. And the reason why we're seeing so many more young people is, well, it's twofold, really. One is we've secured some additional programs. So we're now working right across Suffolk, Cambridgeshire, and Peterborough. And that's just given us the opportunity to reach into more schools, work with more young people and more employers. The other thing is that we've introduced a new product called Form the Future Live, which is seeing us take some of our corporate partners into classrooms all over the UK. So the partner we've been doing that with is Illumina, and Illumina we put their scientists right on the screen into classrooms with an opportunity for students to interact with them. I think of it as a bit of a cross between Nigella Lawson doing a cookery demonstration and David Attenborough going into the jungle or underwater. It's just about really helping to shine a light on something that may be invisible to young people, to help them discover what it means to be, for example, a scientist or work in bioinformatics, and to start to believe that could be them. So that's the mission. So working with lots more young people, lots more employers in different ways. And I would just say one of the other key themes is working in partnership, whether that means working with the likes of Innovate Cambridge, which is a really important movement in our region to try to bring everyone together to promote innovation and growth. Or we have a project this summer with Cambridge Science Centre, which is called Summer in the Park, which is going to be about giving young people opportunities to experience their great centre, but then also get work experience opportunities in some of the companies on Cambridge Science Park. And then that will lead us into sort of the way we approach Cambridge Tech Week. But just before we did that, I thought I just might mention this 10th anniversary, because what I've been really working on is thinking, as we turn 10, we want to use that as an opportunity to both look back and reflect on what we've achieved over the first 10 years, but even more importantly, to look ahead and say, what else can we do? What impact can we have in the next 10? So in January, I started the Cranfield Business Growth Program. And that gave me a structured program to go through a process of reviewing where we are now, where we want to go, and how we're going to get there. So with a lot of help from our team, from our stakeholders, our advisory committee, our board, we are putting the finishing touches on that 10-year plan. Realistically, it probably won't be a 10-year plan, but you got to have a vision and you got to have a North Star that you're heading to, and then hopefully have some short to medium term goals that we can be aiming for. So we'll be launching that soon, and that really is extremely exciting.
Yeah, that really is cool. And it really just emphasizes that this is a 365-day-a-year operation, and it's great to see the innovation and the kind of creativity and the different formats and the different programs that you're kind of delivering. So why don't we move the conversation on then, as you've referenced Cambridge Tech Week. So this is, now establishes itself as a must-attend event, and I know that you've been very passionate to ensure that young people are represented at the conference. So how has that evolved over the years?
I went to Cambridge Tech Week in the first year just to see what it was all about, attended some fantastic events, and I just thought, wow, what an amazing program. I will just say, James, that I frequently get mistaken for Anne Fisher, who is also known as Anne Bailey, who is the actual founder of Cambridge Tech Week. And I spent a lot of time at the first one being praised for my amazing efforts, and I had to pass it on to Anne. But what I thought when I went to that event is what an amazing resource this would be for young people. So when Cambridge Tech Week 2024 came round, I had lots of discussions with Chris Bruce about how could we use it as a learning opportunity? How could we make sure that Cambridge Tech Week wasn't just for those in the know, but was for those in our community who maybe didn't know everything that was happening in Cambridge or in tech? And the steering committee at that time gave me permission to go ahead and explore what could we do to involve young people. And so that was last year. And with some working in partnership with Olu from Black Talent and Leadership in STEM, and with the Cambridge Science Centre with John, who was there at the time, we devised a day called Tech Futures Day. And it was at the end of the week. It was the Friday. It was hosted by the Bradfield Center, which was amazing. And we brought 98 young people from local sixth forms, from colleges, and some undergrads as well, to come and spend the day meeting employers, having hands-on experiences of tech. ARM did a brilliant activity, so did Siemens, so did Mishcon de Rea, and also taking part in panel discussions with a range of people to really get to the bottom of this topic of what does it mean to work in tech? Who can work in tech? How do you get into a career in tech? And really just to plant some seeds and spark some passion and interest. So it was great. But as even Faye acknowledged, it didn't feel like it was fully part of Cambridge Tech Week. It was last day of the conference. People were pretty tired by the Friday. And so I walked away from that thinking, how can we integrate it much more fully into the whole conference? How can we use the conference as a totally immersive experience for more young people? Now with Michaela in charge, and Michaela, for those of you who might not know, was actually the co-founder of Form the Future. So she and I have a very long history, and we go right back to those early days. She was very excited about the prospect of doing more with young people. And so we carved out a plan which would see us do two things. And I'm going to talk in a bit of depth about one aspect of that. And then I know we've got James talking about the other. So my initial thought was, how can we open up the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday so that 30 or 40 young people could come and take part throughout the day? This will mean that some of them they'll all get a chance to sit in on one of the actual sessions, see some of the incredible speakers that are coming and the panel discussions, and really get that sniff of tech at the cutting edge, whether it's linked to the things like quantum or whether it's the startup and scale up aspect of a tech company. Just tech world in all its dimensions is going to be incredibly interesting for these students. And then alongside that, they will do more of these hands-on activities with employers. So giving them a chance to have a go at deploying tech and getting to work with people from the industry. And then there will also be networking, so structured networking sessions throughout the time, so that not only do we want the young people to get the most out of it, we actually want to help the visitors to Cambridge Tech Week to see that there is talent out there. Maybe it doesn't look like what they think it would look like. Maybe it doesn't come from the usual places. Maybe these are people who aren't going to have PhDs, but they may well be able to join as apprentices or as school or college leavers. And we know that tech has a diversity problem. This could be part of that solution. So we're really excited about what's going to be happening at the Tech Week venues themselves. But then the other opportunity is we were approached by James and from Tech Educator to say, we've run this incredibly successful HackEd in other places. We would love to bring it to Cambridge for Cambridge Tech Week. So that's a real hero product that's going to be going on throughout the week, hosted at the Bradfield Centre with your support, and it's going to be a really fantastic complement for those young people who are able to devote the full 3 days to an activity like that. So between those two programs, our goal is to see to have over 200 young people involved this year, so more than doubling our reach, and just learning more about how we use major events like Cambridge Tech Week as a learning opportunity so that our whole community can benefit.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds incredible. Like, as you say, it feels much more integrated this year. And I love the fact that there's something for everyone, in the sense that if you want to go learn and actually listen to speakers, you can attend the conference, you can work directly with employers. And if you're more practical and hands-on and like building, you can go to the hack day, right? And actually start to build a product and actually like have that experience as well. So it sounds like there's something there for everyone. So as you say, we're going to talk to James in a second and go and drill a little bit deeper into the detail of HackEd, which is going to be super exciting. But, people listening to this, either, schools or young people or sponsors, how do they get involved? I'm sure people are going to want to hound you immediately.
Yeah, it generally does create quite a lot of interest. So first of all, anyone who wants to apply for a place to be part of attending as a student or a young person who wants to get involved in either the hack or the visiting the conference, just send an email to info@formthefuture.org.uk. We'll direct you into the right channels. So any interest from a school or a young person directly, come to info@formthefuture.org.uk. If you're an employer who is thinking, I'd like to be involved in some of this, there are opportunities to sponsor some of the activities. Sally Field at Cambridge Tech Week is leading on that, but don't hesitate to reach out to us too. We'd love to hear from companies who want to run activities at Tech Week, and we will see if we can slot you in. I will say that Alia has very generously given us access to a room in the Guildhall that will be the activity zone for those attending the conference. It is worth just saying, although we're excited about over 200 young people taking part, we will be selecting for those who need it most. So we will be prioritizing people who don't have access to these opportunities automatically, who can't just get a work experience on Cambridge Science Park because of who they know. We are ultimately about social mobility and about opening up access to people who wouldn't automatically have it. So just be aware that there will be competition for places, and we will be prioritizing those where we think that it's going to have the biggest impact.
Yeah, absolutely, and quite right so. Perfect. We really appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. I can't wait for Tech Week. It sounds super exciting, and I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Great. Thanks, James. Great to have this chat.
So, James and Tim, welcome to Cambridge Tech Podcast. I think this is your first appearance, actually, which is long overdue. So, welcome. This is your opportunity to say long-time listener, first-time caller. But as you're both new to the show, why don't we start with just some quick introductions, get to know you, your kind of backgrounds and your roles as tech educators.
Yeah, so hi, my name's James. I am going to go with long-time listener, first-time caller. I had to do it. I'm so sorry. So my background, I actually grew up in Cambridge. I grew up in Newmarket before moving up to Norwich. So how far back do you want to go, eh? But my background, I funny enough, come from a manufacturing background. So spent 10 years at a US company called ITW. It was great. It was fine. But left because I kind of got really bored of that corporate lifestyle, right? And wanted to go and have impact in something else, and set up a startup incubator here in Norwich. And one of the things that we really saw about Norwich was that there was just not enough people coming through from sort of diverse backgrounds into starting their own businesses using tech. So we looked at it and said, hey, why don't we do something different and start Tech Educators, which was about supporting people from those diverse backgrounds with a really long-term plan, right? Of if we can get people into tech now, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, they'll be the founders of tomorrow and we'll have more diverse founders. And really it's gone from there. So my background, as I say, from there and moved into tech really through seeing the power of what it can unlock and that opportunity, really.
Great. And Tim?
So yeah, I'm a software developer. I have been for, about half my life. And that's not true anymore. Over half my life, goodness gracious me. And so yeah, I've been working in various sectors, like just straight up website, straight up data, software. And I moved to Norfolk in 2021, and I was introduced to James. And I found out what he was doing with Tech Educators, and I was like, put me in, coach. I want in. This sounds amazing. I want to help people. I want to teach people. I want to help change people's lives. And like, it was a match made in heaven. And yes, it's been brilliant. It's been so rewarding to see people literally go from, I want to do this to, look what I'm doing and look how I'm excelling at. It's incredible. So yeah, I'm really, really enjoying it, really loving it. I've been for the last 3.5 years, looking forward to the next 3.5 years.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, obviously we've been working together for a while now, but for the audience, why don't we just spend a little bit of time describing, Tech Educators? Where are you on your journey? How big is the company now? What kind of products are you offering? And what's that growth story been like over the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's been wild. I think that's probably the first thing to say. So, yeah, as I say, it was about 3.5 years ago. We sort of saw this thing really happening, as I said, in Norwich, where it was kind of the tech founders that were coming through the door were really all the same sort of people, right? They were the white middle class dudes that had done a comp sci degree at their local university, be that UEA or wherever they had done that and come and settled in Norwich and had an idea. And I guess really the sort of why and the passion for me is what I said earlier. I grew up in Cambridge, right? I was a free school dinner's child. I was the first person in my family, luckily, to go to uni. But it seemed like in that space, in that place, and at that time, the conveyor belt of talent coming in that really could do software development and was then going on to start companies was all the same sort of look and feel of person, and we wanted to change that. So that was sort of 3.5 years ago, and as I said, Tim was introduced to us through a friend, right? At the time when we were sort of thinking about, hey, how do we get this thing off the ground? It's been 3.5 years. We didn't really expect it to go the way that it did. I think is fair. I think we sort of saw this vision of a Norfolk and Norwich ecosystem where we could sort of build that talent and create that opportunity for tomorrow for startups. But then really what happened was, I think it was our first contract was in Liverpool. And we kind of got this call that was like, hey, there's this opportunity to do what you're doing in Liverpool and there's this need. And we were like, okay, well, let's see if that scales. We already weren't looking to do that. We won Liverpool, I think something like 3-4 months into the journey after running 2 cohorts. And 3.5 years later, I think Cambridge was next on the journey. And James, we met up with you and made Bradfield our home in Cambridge. That was probably our second or third major contract. Now we're a team of, Tim, I always want to say 22. Where are we? 22 now?
I was going to say 22. I think we should say the number we both thought.
so I think we're 22. We're over 7 locations throughout the UK. We just did software development to start, and obviously the world of tech in 3.5 short years has changed. And so now we do software development, we do AI in literacy, but also in leadership and management in sort of how do we do digital transformation utilizing those tools. And we do digital marketing with AI as well, and probably a couple more courses to come. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, right?
It's been, yeah, wild doesn't quite cover it. It's been amazing. It's like, I think the thing that strikes me whenever we're talking about this is like, if you go back 3.5 years, it was me and James sitting on the same desk, talking about boot camps, and now there's people in like 6 different counties that work with tech educators, and it's joyful. Probably more than six actually.
It's certainly been amazing to watch. So, congratulations to you and the team. You've done an amazing job. So, in the first part of the conversation, listeners have heard my conversation with Anne Bailey talking about Tech Futures, that initiative, and Cambridge Tech Week, and all the exciting things that are happening. And obviously, we're going to talk about HackEd, which is going to be a real key piece of that week. Before we do jump to the specifics of Cambridge HackEd, I just wanted to maybe rewind a little bit, if we could, and just try to understand like the history of HackEd, because you've run this before in Norwich. So it'd be great just to hear where that idea originally came from, explain to the audience how the Norwich event performed, the kind of impact that you had, and, the kind of the great stories, because obviously I was privileged enough to be there and watch the final. So I know you've got some really interesting kind of stories from the teams that participated.
Where it started. So we have this interesting thing in TechEd where Kate, our MD, will come up with an idea and then sort of put it out there. And my initial reaction will be like, no, why are we going to do something like that? And then 2 days later, I've come up with a great idea. And that's kind of how HackEd started, really. I think going back to sort of TechEd's mission, really, of how do we take people from diverse backgrounds and introduce them to this world of technology, right? And expose them to new experiences in that world, and end up that they have this career that they never thought they could have. We're so fortunate that we get to do that in every course we run, and work with amazing people and see that impact. HackEd was really about how do we take that experiential learning and take that opportunity and share it as an opportunity for the wider education system as well. And so we knew that our end of course projects are incredible. It teaches people how to work together, how to communicate, how to focus on a project, how to engage in using Kanban boards and Trello boards, etc. And HackEd really presents an opportunity, as I say, to bring that to the wider education ecosystem, and as well to have like a big showcase event where so many people are learning, where we're learning as the people that are delivering it, where the people that we partner that are coming on board as mentors, they're learning through the process by dealing with students and young people that maybe they have to articulate their ideas and their support structures in different ways because it's a generational thing, right? And notwithstanding the fact that ultimately the students learn so much as well, and they have an experience that when they're going for that first job role, they can say, hey, give me a time, for example, where you've had to overcome an issue or work in a team, or you had a deadline to meet. When we leave school, we don't always have those things, right? We kind of have things that we can kind of point to, but HackEd, it delivers all of those things. It delivers teamwork. It delivers working to a deadline. It delivers challenges, because over 72 hours, you've got to effectively come up with an idea, build the idea, deploy the idea, and make sure it comes together as a team through a project. And it's intense and it's incredible. So that was really, I guess, how HackEd started, giving back to the wider community, and also for our students and for others, creating a learning experience that we can open the door to the world of TechEd for 3 days and share it with other people.
It was more of what we do, in that we want to take people who need this experience or want this experience or are looking to try new things, but open up to such a wide range of people that we can't otherwise teach. People who are in colleges, people who are in university, people who also graduates from tech educators, just so many people who want to do what we do but don't have that opportunity because they're in full-time education. And so getting all these colleges in and having these groups of young people work together with people from Aviva and graduates of tech educators, and really just mixing it up and being like, you are previously, all you've done is software development, which is amazing. Now you're going to go into a group and you're going to start doing software development alongside project management, alongside major team working, and like coming up with ideas. And it was so rewarding to see like everyone contribute and see everyone like do something they were proud of. But more than anyone, it was the guys who were in college who hadn't done anything like this before, nothing close, and they were just like, the feedback we got from them and seeing their faces when like they won the award. So the team that won Hackhead Norwich, kind of giving away that maybe the end of the conversation, but was mostly guys from college, and it was so heartwarming. It was so amazing, and they fully deserved it. So yeah, for me, like that bringing together of so many different people from different backgrounds and skills, and just sharing that knowledge with each other and just building on each other's skills. I keep saying skills, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, that really hits the nail on the head for me. Just from what I kind of saw when I was down there, the fact that a relative bunch of strangers just have to form teams, that in alone is a substantial skill to learn, right? But yeah, the ideation, there's obviously the coding side of building the MVP for the demo, but there's also the kind of marketing skill side of it. There's the presentation building. There's the one or two people that had to get up on stage and actually do the public speaking, to like 400 people, which is pretty daunting, right? The UI design really impressed me as well. All of the projects just was incredible. The UI design was really, really good. Yeah, just amazing.
And it's incredible as well for me. I mean, there's a couple of stories that I think that just still sit with me, and still just like this thing that happened. And when you look back at it as an experience, it just like it happened. It doesn't just happen, by the way. There is like weeks and weeks of planning, as everyone in this room will know. It's like, but I think one of them was on the team that won. There was a young man that he came in and he was so shy and so nervous of like this thing that he'd thrown himself into, but was kind of happening to him, right? And he sort of sat at this table, and Tim, I think you were working with that team, right? And I certainly remember you sort of dropping in to help mentor that team. By day 2, he was their project manager. He was making them do physical stand-ups, and he was literally animated, confident. You see transformations in people over a long period of time, right? And generally, you sometimes that change in people, you take a step back and you notice it because it's happened slowly. In the hackathon that happened, it's like it was instant. Like that person was a different person on day 2 than the person that walked through the door.
Yeah, no, I was just agreeing with you. Incredible. Like it got to the afternoon of the first day, at which point we really should be like, we already know what we're building, and we're starting to talk about an assigning task, and everyone's going to be doing the task. And at this point, they were really struggling. They had 2 or 3 different ideas that they might work on, and they were struggling to kind of settle on one. And so yeah, him coming out of his shell, I think it was almost like a reaction, like, okay, this is what the team needs, and I'm going to do that. And he did it, and he nailed it.
Yeah, and it's incredible to watch. And I think the other story that I always love to tell, I think we always think about tech, right? And we always think about our industry and the industry of tech as it seems so close because it's in our everyday lives, and we interact with it so constantly, but it seems so unobtainable to people who are outside of the industry, who maybe aren't as close to it as we all are. And we had some students from the University of the Arts, and one lady came up to me and was like, I'm so far out of my depth here. I do film and filmography and puppet design, and it's like, there's no way this relates. And by the end of the first day, they'd done all of their Kanban boards, they'd articulated what their process was going to be, and they'd also started designing their final presentation. So they'd done a lot of work, right? And she came up to me and she was like, oh, this tech stuff is just storyboarding. And it was just like all of the transferable skills that this person had, all of these incredible skills that other teams maybe didn't have, was just so relatable to tech, so transferable to tech. And I think Hackhead and the mission of TechEd and the mission of Hackhead is really demystifying this industry. The fact that we need more transferable skills, we need more diversity, we need more people with ideas, we need other industries to continue to enrich what we do, because ultimately tech is, partly the vehicle of making great experiences. And experiences and great experiences are all about a diversity of people and thought, and that's what Hackhead is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that nicely whets the appetite for the format. So I guess let's move on and talk specifically now about what's coming up in September at Cambridge Tech Week. So, as we heard from Anne, that there's the overarching theme of tech futures. So why was it important for you guys to bring, TechEd to Cambridge and, walk us through the why and is the format going to be the same as Norwich? How do you see September playing out?
I mean, why Cambridge? Cambridge has got a special place in my heart. As I say, I grew up there, so there's kind of a bit of that. It's our home as well. As I say, Cambridge was our home right from the start, James, as you know, right? And so being able to put something on this something that's so close to TechEd's history and my history was really amazing. And Cambridge Tech Week just seemed like a perfect lightning rod to do that. So I think when the opportunity of looking at what Tech Futures is doing, it was the perfect fit. What does it look like? So we're aiming for between 100 and 120 students, and they get put into around 10 teams. And leading up to the event, Tim, what are we doing? 4 or 5 leading events, something like that, right? So I'm putting you right on the spot.
No, I think it's 4. Including making the teams and making sure they know who's in their teams as well, and they can meet each other. And it won't be like, hey, it's the first morning, and now I'm going to introduce myself to everybody, like they're already met.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where Hackhead differs to some other hackathons that where maybe they're aimed at more sort of mid to senior level developers or people that have been into the industry for a while. So what we do is we break the ice and do that sort of lead-in events leading up to it. But it's still intense, right? So they've done those 4 lead-in events, and generally that'll be stuff on, how do I project manage? How do I meet my team? How do I define what the project should look like? Who's going to be roughly like the team lead? Who's going to potentially do the pitch, etc., etc. All of it changes invariably, but we start off with at least having some sort of idea around that, right? And then over 3 days, so starting on the Tuesday of Cambridge Tech Week at the Bradfield, the teams will arrive. And they will be assigned 2 mentors who they've already met. One's a business mentor, and one's generally one of our team or someone who's a developer in tech, just to support and guide and nurture the teams. But for the first 2 days, they are literally hacking. So we've got this idea. How do we build it? What frameworks are we going to use? What does it look like? And you sort of get these little subsets of teams break out, right? So you have front end, back end, design, project management. And it kind of falls into that approach, and we're happy when it does, because those teams generally is happy with structure and organization, right? And they have check-ins sort of every half day. We have like organized, formalized stand-ups where the teams and the mentors will check in. That kind of happens really all behind closed doors. So if you're interested in Hackhead, when you arrive on the 3rd day, which is when we sort of get into demonstrations and presentations, you don't really see that. It's kind of, you see the tip of the iceberg, but all of this stuff has been happening in the background, right? And so on the 3rd day, the teams are really switching focus in towards, I need to make my demo work. And that's always fun. And the presentation teams are, I need to be able to sell this message and sell this idea and sell why, this is the thing that should win Hackhead. On the final day, tickets will be available, so it's a free-to-attend event for people who are interested in seeing how Hackhead went. And effectively, the students will present around 2:00 their ideas. So everyone comes into the room, the presentations happen, and they will introduce their ideas. And then something we've changed up actually for this one, James, and this is something that we sort of spoke about as a team and as a community after the first one, was we're then going to break and allow the demonstrations to happen after the presentations, because then people, when they go and see the demos of the live thing that they've just been told about actually working, they have that intro into, oh, that's what they built and that's why they built it. And then the judges will go away to deliberate for around half an hour, and then we bring everyone back into the presentation room again, and we announced a winning team. So there's two winning teams, one for the presentation and the overall delivery, and one specifically for the use of technology. So yeah, that's how it works on the surface. It's a lot more stuff and a lot more running around and a lot more things breaking. But generally, the last one, I'm not going to say it. The last one was fine.
It went really well. I think one of the things like that you're touching on, like behind the scenes, like the mentors. There was two mentors per team, so there was over 20 mentors at the last Hackhead, and it was. I was in a privileged position to be dubbed lead mentor, which meant I was running around like a madman, checking in with every team. But I loved that because it meant I got to see a bit of every single project before the end, and I could like just see what people were making, and so there is so much going on behind the scenes, and there's so many people helping to make this work. Like the whole idea is, hey, come and have a go at something you've never done before, and experience and learn new skills from people who've done this thing before or who have different skills to you. And so the whole idea is that come and learn, come and build yourself. And so all these people behind the scenes, of which there are almost like a quarter of the same amount of people who are actually participating. It's like, we want to make this the best it can possibly be. We want the teams to feel like they've done something amazing. We want the final presentations to be amazing and be something they can all be incredibly proud of, as well as the demo to be something that's actually amazing and it works. Like that, for me as a developer, was the most stressful part, is making sure when it got to here's a demo and you can use the app or use the product. Lots of Raspberry Pis not working quite properly. It was like, I had more hair before Hackhead Norwich, but like, that's not true. But yeah, so like, it's so rewarding and it's such a brilliant time, and everyone at the end of it was just incredibly, they're exhausted but they weren't tired. It was so energizing. It was so, I don't know what the right term is, life-giving is probably too strong. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah, Tim, your point about the mentors just so important, because not only are the teams getting that kind of opportunity to sharpen their technical chops by working with professionals, it's just that, what an opportunity to meet people from the likes of Google and Aviva and all of these kinds of places. It's just incredible in terms of what you think, what opportunities that might lead to further down the line. And of course, James, as you mentioned, we'll put the link to the Eventbrite for people to sign up to the final. The networking opportunities, the kind of people that these young people that have an opportunity to meet, it could be life-changing, right?
It is life-changing, and I think we've been really lucky as well in you don't only get to meet inspirational people or aspirational people, it's the spaces that we do them in are inspirational, aspirational as well. And so if I come back, because again, I've got to make it all about me, right? If I come back to my early career, going to Cambridge, from growing up, as I say, from my background, I think the turning point for my career really was growing up in Newmarket and then going to sixth form in Cambridge and seeing what the art of the possible, what the future of possible could look like. And that changed really my whole perspective of where I wanted to take my career. And I don't say this lightly, and I realize, as Tim sort of said earlier, it's a big thing to say, but having those moments with someone like Zach from Google, or having those moments when someone who didn't think they get to go to university or didn't think they could have a career in tech gets to see the incredible building that Norwich University of the Arts has, or comes and hangs out in the Bradfield for 3 days and makes it feel like home, all of a sudden that thing that was a little bit out of reach or behind a door or not quite in sight of what the art of the possible could be, it makes it really real. And you realize that that person might work at Google, or they might be super senior in Aviva, but they're just people too. And ultimately you can be that person. It really is powerful and impactful. And we've got some students with us at the moment that are T-level students who are actually on Hackhead. And even now, obviously it's something that we both know, so we can talk about, but we still talk about that event. And I think with anything like this, it's impactful for the many, but it can truly be life-changing for a few. And if you think that if you change 3 or 4 people's lives by this sort of experience, that's an incredible outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you've done a great job there of getting people excited for September. So, Cambridge Tech Week is going to be jam-packed with activity, but this one's going to be special. So it's on between the 16th to the 18th of September at the Bradfield Centre, like we talked about. We will put a link up for tickets if you want to come along and watch the presentations and meet the teams. If there's time, James, if people are listening to this, they want to get involved in terms of sponsorship, or a school's listening and want to get their students involved, how do they get in contact?
I think the best way is you can go to techeducators.co.uk and hit that contact form, and there's a drop down specifically for HackEd. I think yeah, for us, if you're interested in supporting, anything that can be done on that front is really about how do we make the prizes and the experience bigger and better. The thing for me is, again, coming from, as I say, my background is food and drink is provided for the students throughout, and any more funds that we raise gets to make that better food and drink or better prizes, which is always great. And I think on the mentor side, obviously we have to conduct a DBS on all of the mentors because you are working with students. But if you're looking as a way and you're involved in the tech industry and you're thinking to yourself, how can I do something that has a huge amount of impact and I can give back over 3 days? You've found it here in HackEd, and we'd love to hear from you. But there are hundreds of ways beyond HackEd that if that's something that sort of floats your boat and you want to give back as well, is get in touch, because we do careers talks which are open to schools, colleges and universities as well, and there's always opportunities to get involved and support the future of tech talent.
Awesome. Well, Tim, James, thanks for your time. I'm a big fan of what you do. Can't wait till September. So watch this space.
Thanks so much.
Today's show was produced by Carl Homer of Cambridge TV and supported by our media partner, Business Weekly. The Cambridge Tech Podcast is available on all major podcast platforms and on cambridgetechpodcast.com. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give it a 5-star review. It'll really help others discover the show.
If you are a startup looking to grow in Cambridge, the Bradfield Centre offers a range of flexible membership packages which put you in control of your office and home working mix. There's a vibrant, collaborative atmosphere, on-site cafe, plenty of green outside space, and regular member social events. For more information, visit bradfieldcentre.com or call 01223 919 600.